Thanks for listening to the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast, where each week we talk about a free piece or two of technology that you can use in your classroom. I'm your host, Shanna Martin. I'm a middle school teacher, technology and instructional coach from my district.
And I'm her producer and husband, Fuzz Martin, and I love podcasting because the stakes aren't very high.
Really? That's where we're going? Of all the farm puns out there, that's what you're doing?
I was thinking of cows. Steaks, cows.
Oh, I was thinking like stakes in the ground, like farming and vegetables.
No, steaks. Oh, no. Are you starting to beef with me?
Wow.
Boom.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. You've got mail.
We are on episode 175.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
175.
crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm super excited this week because both of our tools are just really fun.
They are. I was playing one of them with our youngest at the counter, and she was upset when we had to leave to come to the studio.
She was. It was pretty cute.
She wanted to play it in the car, and I was like, no.
Well, education is fun. Sometimes, you can learn out the window.
Agreed.
Because you can look out the window and learn about your community. 175. I have a slight cold. Sorry, everybody.
You're going to be okay.
And we are piling on the fun week of parent-teacher conferences and mid-February. And we just had snow random this week and an ice storm. And now it's supposed to be like 50 degrees by Friday.
Just crazy weather.
Yeah, but it's good. And we're having some farm fun this week. So while in Wisconsin, many of our schools have what they call FFA.
Future Farmers America, or they have the egg classes.
Ag classes.
AG. Egg.
They have, agriculture.
Yep.
And so we have all of these things built into our schools. And not all schools have these opportunities. And really, these tools that we're talking about, while they could be used in ag classes, they can totally be used anywhere. So if you're having kids just build, like if we're talking about different types of communities, and you want them to learn about a farming community. If you're talking about like structure of the Midwest, like there's just so many different ways you could build farming in. I know sometimes our youngest is in 3rd grade and they talk about like just different like plants and growth and things like that in science class. You could totally put these sites in there as well. So they can be applied in a bunch of different areas, even if you're not teaching an agricultural class.
And let's just face it, with these
two are just really fun as like adults.
Yeah. Brain break all day long right here.
Yeah. So yeah, brain breaks or recess time, indoor recess, and or just because they're fun and interesting.
Yep.
Or if you're doing some summer garden planning, like you can totally do that too. So basically anybody can play with these sites. There's no recommended age. And one is a site this week and one is an app this week. So let's start with our website. The first one we're going to talk about is called Spatial Grow.
Okay.
The site spatialgrow.com/builder, BUILDER-tool, TOOL. Spatial Grow does have like a homepage that will have different STEM resources and things like that for education. But if you want to get directly to the 3D builder that we're going to talk about, you need to go to spatialgrow.com/builder tool. Otherwise, it'll be hard for you to find. So the Farm Builder tool is basically just highly entertaining creation of a farm.
Yep.
It's not quite Farmville because there's no animals, but there are trees and vegetables and roads and trucks and all kinds of things. So I will say it's a slight learning curve for those of us who have Macs.
Okay, yeah.
Because it gives you directions with having a mouse. So it does a lot of like hold shift right click, hold shift left click, just for like when you want to delete things. Yep. And you use the arrows on your keyboard to zoom and zoom out. So that's something to note when you're going into the site. You just have to learn the directions basically. But you have the options. So you start with building structures. And once you click on building structures, it gives you all kinds of choices. So you can have like tables and shelves and doorways and windows and things like that. So if you want to build a building, you can. If you want to go beyond that within building structures, there's growing systems. So it talks about like vertical towers and it talks about raised beds and a grow tent and different types of systems. They even have a greenhouse. So like I just dropped a greenhouse in my space, which is pretty awesome. And again, zooming in and zooming out with your arrow keys will be very helpful.
Agreed.
Then when you go through, you've got like your environment. So you can add fencing. You can add apple trees. You can add tree 1, which is a large tree if it's close up or further out. And you'll notice, like when I first started playing, I was like, oh, that's kind of a small space to work in. And then I realized you just keep arrowing over a different space and you just keep building your farm and building your farm. So there's different types of trees. You can add roads in there. So it's like road corner and a road curve. So you can make an intersection in your fields of lettuce. You could add a pond. If you want a water feature, you can drop a pond in, because you can do that too. And then from there, they also have other categories. So plants, you can choose if you want a lettuce patch or a watermelon patch. Or you could add pumpkin patches because we all need pumpkins, right?
Correct.
And potatoes and tomatoes and chilies and strawberries and squash and corn. So you can add all these vegetables and start planting things. And then they also have farm equipment. So if you want to add a garage, you can drop a good old pole shed in there. If you want a shed, they also have a shed which is separate than a pole shed. So that's an option. There's a trailer. You can park it in your shed if you want to. And then you're just arrowing over. So the whole thing is so you can learn about different farm tools, but also how they should be situated in the farm. So if you have kids do some research, like if we're going to need a lot of sun, we're probably not going to put the vegetable patch next to a couple of trees in a pole shed. We're going to need to put them out in the open. And so there's even silos. You can drop a silo in and they can just keep zooming in and zooming out and making more space to make it a larger farm. And you just keep going and adding things and building things. What's cool about this is it's really entertaining. You can create your own farm code or it just generates a code for you. And then you can share that code with other people and then they can get into your farm and add to your farm. So if you want kids to do something in partners or something like that, they could then share and work on the same farm together.
Yep.
You can also save your farm with that code. So then if I want to like leave that place and then come back, I can just type that code back in and I get my farm back up. So it's a really easy way to kind of understand basics of farming, how to structure things, but also it's like this fun little entertainment space. And if you 2-finger click like on a Mac, you can move around so you can actually change your shape. And it took me a second to figure that one out too.
And but if you shift and 2-finger click on a Mac, it'll delete an object that you don't want
there. Yeah. So you can kind of zoom around and zoom in and out, and then you can also spin 3D to see your farm. So
wow.
Yeah. So it allows you to build a farm, and it gives you kind of all the basics. So that way you can go through and create and highlight different features. So if you have a group of kids, and maybe you could put a challenge to them, like, okay, you only get to put in one structure and like 15 trees. And then you got to grow vegetables, you can, and say, and this group is going to design something differently and then tell us like the highlights of your farm and why did you choose these pieces within your farm versus why would you do something else? So there's all different kinds of ways to use it and just really entertaining.
Yeah, it is. I think one of the other cool things is it really shows you how perspective works when you move an object, when you go to create the object. So let's say I'm going to grab a tall silo because they're really, really tall. And if they're up close, it takes up the whole screen. But as you move the mouse backwards to place it, it automatically scales to the right perspective based on the horizon line that they give you. So it really, even from like an art perspective, gives you that feeling of where on the horizon line that size of 3D object should live. So really cool.
It is cool. It also gives shadows. If you notice that, like, it tells you like where the sun's coming from, it gives you shadows within your space too. So again, it's to teach about farming and structures of farms and like how you would build your farm. You can add your little like dirt rows, add all the dirt and all the lettuce that you want.
A dirt row.
And you can sing country songs while you do it. There is a pickup truck in there.
Yeah, there is.
Under equipment, there's a pickup truck, which that was kind of fun.
That was what I was playing with, just for the record.
Nice. You can add a random road curve in there so you can make little paths. But really, Spatial Grow, the farm building tool is really entertaining and teaches you a little bit about farming. And there's just so many different ways you could use it for designing purposes and teaching kids about farming and also just letting them play around and explore even the different pieces of a farm.
Yeah.
Like I take for granted a bit that we are surrounded by farms and we spend a lot of time driving past farms and not everybody gets to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding the difference between a greenhouse and a shed and why you would add fencing around to make sure that, animals stay in and grassy edges like berms are needed and different things like that. They're just all a part of it. So it's really fun to play around with.
Yeah. So again, that is called spatialgrow.com and it's their builder tool.
Yep, it's their farm builder tool. So build a farm. I want to see what you guys create. It really is fun. You'll see a few pictures of mine on Smart and WI, but really, like you could spend hours doing this if you want to.
Maybe I will.
Farmville, but education. All right, there you go. So Spatial Grow Farm Builder Tool, check that out. And any of the STEM tools they have too. So the other one we're talking about
is
an app. And I don't usually highlight too many apps, but this one goes with our farm theme and it's created through UW-Madison,
Correct.
Which is fun.
Yes.
And it's called Moving Cows.
Moving Cows.
So I'm going to link to the website
Yeah.
on my site so you can find it. It's under like animal welfare.
Yeah, but if you just go to movingcows.com, it will take you right to this page though. So
it's through UW-Madison, but you can go to movingcows.com. And it will take
two you. 2 O's in moving because you see there's a pun and that'll get you there. So,
and it's cute.
It is cute. It's like a Farmville game kind of, but it's really educational and walks you through the steps on how to work with livestock, really with cows. So the app works on both Android and on iOS. And
it's so cute.
It's super cute. When you log in or you start, you don't have to log in, but you give it a name, whatever that you're going to use. It starts to give you different tips on how to work with cows. And they've got like kind of this, it starts with this like circle around each of the cows. It says like they can see you here, they can't see you here.
And it's like a dairy farm, right?
Yes.
So it's dairy farming.
Yes.
And it's teaching anybody that wants to learn about dairy farming.
Correct.
So it doesn't have to be like, while I always highlight things for education and kids, as you were saying before, like our youngest is playing who's in 3rd grade.
Mm-hmm.
As you're playing an adult, it's super fun. So really anyone can play and learn about dairy cows.
Yeah. Fun. And each level, they kind of teach you a different way to move the cows, get them out of the pen or into the milking area. And, there's like a space where you're not supposed to stand behind them because you could get kicked.
Mm-hmm.
If you take actions too quickly, it startles them. And when they get startled, it lowers their milk production. And so there's a whole lot that it actually that's involved in how you act around livestock.
Well, and using body language, right? Like that's the thing that they highlight is that like the cows can read your body language.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to be effective in handling dairy cows, you should know these things. Like it's really educational.
Exactly.
As you go through.
Yep. So it says cute. You can play on mobile touchscreen devices, including phones, tablets, and Chromebooks. So
if you have touch Chromebooks, that would be that you can load apps onto. You could absolutely do it that way too.
It has tutorials for each step by step. It actually has narration. I didn't listen to the narration, but one of the cool parts is that you can play in English or Spanish and you can switch back and forth at any time.
Yeah, which is awesome. So like your kids, you don't have to worry about some kids feeling left out or making sure that all the kids are able to play. Mm-hmm. You can totally do that. And so, I mean, I know our youngest was super excited when she was playing this, but what are some of the things that it teaches you as you're going through? I was not standing over her shoulder while she was playing.
Yeah. So like, for instance, when you move to go walk by a cow in order to get them to move in the direction you want them to. And I am struggling not to say move every time I say that. If you go too short, it'll move quickly and that will startle the cow and they might run away from you. And then you have to kind of
how many do you have to gather up while you're gathering cows?
So every level's different. So they have a number of them. Some like it starts with 2 and then it goes up to, a bunch. But the hard one was like when they're in a pen and you got to get them out of the pen in order to get them to the milking area.
Yeah.
You have to like get in the pen and get in front of them, but you can't stand behind them because they'll kick you. And also it has like, they'll slip on manure and
they fling it on you, don't they?
And it's, but it's kind of real life
Yeah.
things, but each way it tells you what you've done. And for instance, if you get kicked, a little window pops up, and if you click it too fast without reading it, you'll like slap the cow or do something that show frustration, and then the cow gets startled, and then you lose milk production. So
gotcha.
It's really cool. And again, it's from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Dr. Jennifer Van Oss is the project lead. Dr. Nigel Cook, the co-lead. Super cool.
It's really fun. And when you complete everything, you get a certificate of completion. So you can document your continuing education by finishing your moving housework, which is awesome. It's just so cool and super engaging. Yeah. Like I have not had as much time as you have had playing on this, but it is very cool. And I love a good educational tool that's fun and free. And fairly local, which is kind of fun.
Right, exactly. So check it out, movingcows.com, 2 O's in moving. That'll get you to the website, which is on the University of Wisconsin's website.
So yay, that's our farming fun for today. I hope everyone goes and has some farming fun because farming can be fun. Yeah. I know farming is also a ton of work, and our farmers work year round and are doing so much for us. So just a little farm fun in this wintry grossness.
Yeah, so, I might go have a burger just in their honor. At least a glass of milk. No?
Oh my goodness. How about some ice cream?
Sure.
Thanks for tuning in. This has been the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast. If you ever have any questions, you can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter.
X.
And at smartandwi.com or on Threads. If you want to get more information on the links to the technology discussed in this episode, you can visit smartandwi.com. If you'd like to support the show, please consider buying me a coffee or two. Visit buymeacoffee.com/smartandwi or visit smartandwi.com and click on that cute little purple coffee cup. Your donations help keep the show going. New episodes each week. Thanks for listening. Go educate and innovate.
The ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast and the smartandwi.com website are those of the author, Shanna Martin, and not of her employer. Prior to using any of the technologies discussed on this podcast, please consult with your employer regulations. This podcast offers no guarantee that these tools will work for you as we've described, but we hope they do. And we'll talk to you next time right here on the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast.
Meow.